Hello, friends. All right, a little PGA action here. It's that time, 8 a.m. Eastern at Stokastic. 2023 Arnold Palmer Invitational PGA picks, analysis, answering questions, building lineups, giving hot takes. I'm Ben Raza. I am joined back from the Super Bowl. Took you quite a while, but you are back from the Super Bowl. Jeff Ulrich in the house, feeling good. How are things, friend? We missed you the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, thanks to Eric for filling in for me. I had a little flight delay, on in the last week, as of course, I plan these things, Ben. I actually do plan to fly out in the morning. I haven't had a flight delay in like 5 years. I've been so lucky. And then of course the one time I needed to be on time, it's delayed, but I'm happy to be back, man. And last couple of weeks, especially last week, was great. So I'm looking to keep it rolling here, man.
Yeah, I believe that you had Chris Kirk outright, did you not?
I definitely did. He was.
Yeah, that's your boy.
He's one of my guys. I mean, I really thought too, as the week was going on, it was weird. His odds, kind of started out in the 28 range and they drifted. And I had people showing me like 38-1 tickets. So I thought it was good if you get him 30 or better. He was a guy who'd been, he was consistent last year, but this year he started off, and the irons you could just clearly see were more dialed in. And that's kind of what won him the event at the end. That wedge and those strong irons down the stretch when Cole took the lead. So that was a really fun event to watch. I'm not going to lie. Eric Cole pushed him to the end. I thought Kirk showed really good resiliency, and that's a player in Chris Kirk. Like I said, I mean, I feel like a win like that where you can come back, maybe push them to something even bigger. Who knows? But classy player. I like him. I'm really glad to that he pulled that out.
Big fan of Kirk. I was rooting for him very hard, even though money-wise, probably would have been better for him to lose for me. But I just like him. He almost hit the car. That's another thing. That was one of the worst shots I've ever seen. So to get back and win it, shout out to him. Shout out to Honda. We're not going to go down that wormhole tonight. I like that. I like cuts. I like normal events with 150 players. I don't like where we're trending, but we will have to deal with it. I know this much. We got a great event to break down tonight. I see you all in chat. We're about to get dangerous. Here we go. Anything else from the Honda that you want to talk about? It's not a huge carryover field because, for obvious reasons, a handful of big-time names played in the Honda, if that?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting spot. Like, I do think some of the guys coming in, and we'll get to who they are, may have a little bit of an advantage having played last week. Because it's interesting. The schedule breaks down where a lot of the guys who played in the Honda didn't play Riviera. And I wonder if that, that week to play the Honda and then coming in and getting to play in similar conditions is going to help them. So we'll talk about that. There's a couple guys down the list I think it could help. But otherwise, you're right. It's not really carryover. A lot of the players, especially top players, they're just good. This is like the first time playing Florida for them. So could see some big swings in terms of performance.
We absolutely could in one way to take advantage of that right off the bat, because we're going to talk about weather. We're going to talk about wind. We're going to talk about stacks. PrizePicks, they sponsor this show each and every week. I know you guys know about them. They've exploded. They are legit here, and they're everywhere. But if you don't play over there, we've got the deal for you, and we're going to talk about that. But in addition to getting that first match deposit bonus up to $100, there's real opportunities to just hone in on Thursday over at PrizePicks. You've got a million guys with their strokes, a million guys with birdies or better, greens and regulation. I just kind of want to ask you, related to PrizePicks, how hard do you think this is going to play tomorrow at Bay Hill, and what do you think we should do, possibly correlating that big type of ticket?
Yeah, so I mean, I got a little bit of inside information. I talked to Jason Sobel early in the week, who lives down there. He's at the tournament. He said the wind is coming in the morning. The greens are baked out. He said the wind. He lives down there, so he said the wind is up from regular. He said it's very similar to like the past couple of years. I think that right off the bat, you should be looking at some unders and some things like greens and reg. I know just in naturally, like Bay Hill, we see low green and regulation percentages anyways. And I mean, I'm just looking at PrizePicks. I usually do most of my PrizePicks Wednesday. And I mean, I'm looking at it right off the top. Like we're getting 12 totals. We're getting 11.5 totals. I know these are good players, but like, I think those are going to be tough to hit. So I'd be looking at that. And then birdies are better percentage as well. I think they've adjusted those correctly, but green and regs could be something to look at. And then just overall, I mean, PrizePicks again giving us some solid matchups to take advantage of for the birdies are better. I think that's the one place where you can just roll with what feels good. I think you got 4 par 5s. A lot of these top players are going to eat up the par 5s, even if they make some bogeys out there. So Yeah, it like you said, it's a good week to go prize picks. They've got a lot out there that we can look to for sure.
Absolutely. So again, check that out. Take advantage. If you're going to sign up, if you haven't, why not maximize the deal? Go to the link in the description. Get your free month of Stokastic Plus so you can use the tools, not just for golf, for every single sport for a month. And the $100 deposit match with Prize Picks. It's a one-stop shop. You go there, you click that link, you're in, you're getting bonuses all over the place. A great opportunity. But let's turn the page. We talked about Honda, talked about Prize Picks for sure. We're going to keep talking about them throughout the show. You said you got the insider information. Bay Hill is no joke. PGA National is no joke, but it is a little different. When you look at what we dealt with last week and you look at what we deal with this week, off the tee, I mean, what else changes for you when you see this course?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different. It's a bigger track. Like the fairways are a lot easier to hit, so you get a little bit more drivers. But I think that the main thing is it's a little less technical than the Honda, but it's also more difficult because there's more carries off the tee. There's there's tougher. It's just a tougher layout in general, and also I think the biggest thing is here with the rough, just the way it's set up. They just set it up every year like it's a major championship. So, I mean, imagine Honda where the rough was more up, where, the wind is up a little bit more. And then think about how that plays. That's basically what Bay Hill is like every year. And again, we have a year where the wind is going to be worse than it was at the Honda. So I'm really looking to double down on players with strokes gain approach. Scheffler led the field in that category last year. You go back 3 years when Hatton won. Hatton, he did basically the same thing, gained over 7 strokes on approach. Off the tee here is important, and you definitely, need to be solid, but, Scheffler did lose strokes off the tee last year. I just want someone who's solid in that regard. And I really want to focus in on guys I think can pop in the strokes gain approach category. Around the green here, important, but it actually tends to be a little bit easier. So, I think it's really just all about those mid to long irons and ball striking in that regard.
Yeah, I certainly would agree. I'd say this. It's a lot tougher for me when we talk about what to do when it looks like some of the worst of it might be Friday afternoon. That's quite a while. If you're saying there's going to be Thursday morning wind, that's in 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like Friday afternoon, a lot of crazy stuff can happen. So when I look at the tee times, I do agree. PM, AM seems like the best of it right now. If that's what I'd want my golfers to be, but a lot can change. Certainly, I think you can build some skill set stacks where you say, this is going to play awful. Give me the Shane Lowry model. And then this is going to be fine relative. Give me the Morikawa model, and do some of those.
I mean, obviously I'm going to take another look at it tonight too. And before I make final decisions, but if I think that there's a chance where, the AM, PM, there's not going to be that big a difference, or just that the PM maybe has a chance to have that wind die down a bit, because I think that's actually a realistic possibility where the wind blows in the morning, it blows in the noon, and then it starts to die down. I mean, I think there's going to be a good opportunity for that PM wave to potentially be just as good, or maybe even be the wave to be in. Don't forget that those guys on Friday PM are going off early on Thursday, which is probably going to be the calmest wave of the 4. So I don't know, man. It's definitely a week where I think if you're multi-entry, getting exposure to both stacks is important. I wouldn't just go, oh yeah, I'm going PM, AM and go 80% there. I think you need to get exposure to both stacks. And I do think stacking is still a good idea. It's just, I wouldn't just write off that one wave completely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I wouldn't as well. It's an all-around test. It's Bermuda. It's different. If your guy didn't play at Honda, I think it's a hard reset for a lot of players from the West Coast, and I'm kind of evaluating like that. And let's talk about it. So, again, majors. These are majors. Rahm, Rory, Scheffler, big names up top. There's a million ways that you can go. It's no surprise that, in my mind, that Rory is projecting amongst the highest owned players, maybe the highest owned player on this entire slate. He's a winner at Bay Hill. When you look at the very top, where do you want to allocate your money?
So, I mean, right off the top, I know Rory loves this course, and I'm not necessarily anti-Rory this week, but again, we've got to make some decisions at the top. I'll take Scheffler this week. I just don't like taking Rory McIlroy in really tough conditions. It's never really been his thing. you look at all his wins, it's kind of the ones where he can just get in the flow. He can make a few more birdies. He makes those great shots. He gets a couple birdies in a row, and then he just distances himself from the field. And the grinded out type of wins just don't seem to be there for Rory over his career. So I like going down to Scheffler, or going up to Scheffler, I should say. The lower ownership to me is really appealing. The fact he's won on Phoenix, which I think is a really good comp course, is appealing. And obviously he's won here before. I like Scheffler, and certainly I like Rahm as well. But I think that Scheffler is kind of the leverage player.
Yeah, so Rahm, rightfully so, and he's almost $1,000 more than Rory. He really does make it a difficult build. I want to ask you specifically about Rahm, and then we'll open it up, because we know these guys are all playable. Even though you said you didn't like Rory, I know you're not doubting that he could turn it on in the right conditions and just blow his field away. I'm not going to say worried, but it seems to me, I've been saying this throughout the week, that Rahm just doesn't play as often as you would think in Florida. API and Honda and Valspar are not regular stops on his season. He plays the Players. Do you not worry about that? But what do you make of Rahm coming to Florida, no reps in Florida to start this swing?
Yeah, if we weren't getting like nuclear hot, like Tiger Woods, John Rahm right now, I would be way more concerned. The problem is, he's basically doing everything you want a player to be doing coming into Florida. Like, he just was lights out with his approaches on Riviera. The putter is working. Like, he's kind of doing what Scheffler did at this point last year, which really would concern me from the point of saying, like, oh, this is a great week to fade him. I do agree though. Like, I think if he's going to cool down, this is the week. I mean, if we're going to get an off John Rahm week where maybe the putter just doesn't show up, maybe he just doesn't like the layout here. There's way more water in play. This is going to be it. So from that perspective, like, if you're, if you like someone else, or you just don't like fitting him in builds, or you just think that it's a good time to go underweight, I kind of agree. I just don't think it's quite as clear cut as it has been in past years with Rahm when we come to the state and kind of with these tournaments. So I don't know. You can't play everyone. It's a super elite field. There's so much upside in the 9K range that, I do think that, just going on, for single entry lineups, for example, I think you can avoid John Rahm. Absolutely.
Max Homa, Justin Thomas, Colin Moore. I mean, this is still a top tier, no doubt about it. It's just more of a balanced look. Now, JT, I mean, he's not getting any love in the betting markets. He's at a price where I would blind bet him, even though I do see some risk. But if you're pushing 30 to 1, I don't really care. Morikawa, Will Z. When you look at the upper nines, where are you drawn to?
Yeah, Thomas this week definitely seeing his number drift down to 30s. It's kind of like,
that's crazy.
It's really crazy. And again, I tweeted this out. I mean, the most bet golfer on DraftKings this week is Will Zalatoris at 22 to 1. And you've got half the handle on Justin Thomas at 30 to 1. So, that's where the public is going, and you usually don't necessarily want to do that. So, Thomas is really interesting to me. It feels a lot like Kirk last week. I mean, the only thing about Thomas that kind of differentiates him from Kirk is that Kirk had a couple of really good results. He looked like he was trending well. Thomas has been a little bit slow to get it going, but he's not really a player I ever worry about too much. If his irons dip a little bit, it's not like I'm worried, oh, Justin Thomas, what's going on? He's in shambles. This is a player who's just been so consistent with that part of his game through his entire career. The swing is the same. Everything's the same. He's going to turn it on at some point in Florida. So I like it. I mean, if you're asking me Homa or Thomas, I'm taking Thomas this week. I think Max Homa is the pure, in a way, Max Homa and Rahm are just the West Coast guys. And I talked about this earlier in the week. If we're pretending these guys are horses, and Homa and Rahm are like the muddy track guys. Well, we're coming to the dirt, or the dry mud here. And you want to switch horses. This is a place where Thomas gets going. Even a guy like Hovland gets going. So you got to be mindful of the environment here. I like Thomas down there. I like Morikawa as well. Homa's just going to be kind of a complete fade for me. A little scary considering how well he's played, but I think it's a good time to get off him.
I agree. Again, he's been putting out of his mind out west, different in so many ways. That JT, I get it. And our, partner of the show, Mr. Lindquist, just said this. JT seems to not want to play at Bay Hill. He doesn't play here. And now he's here. He's played once. But you mentioned Waste Management. Like, the comp courses that I have to Bay Hill, JT takes apart. It's not a problem. I don't know why he wouldn't play well here.
I think it's more of a scheduling thing too, Ben. Like I gotta think it's for some of these guys why they don't come to Bay Hill. I mean, maybe some of them legitimately don't like it. I don't know. If someone's got information, throw it out. But I would just think it's more of a scheduling thing.
I also think that if JT putted a couple weeks ago, we'd be talking about him grabbing another win at Waste Management, and he would be one of the most popular players in the field.
Yeah,
like it's one of those. So I'm not too worried about him. Finau, Xander, Cantlay, Hovland. I assume you're comfortable, or I shouldn't say assume, but are you comfortable starting in this lower 9K range?
Yeah, I mean, I made a couple lineups right before we came on, and again, like one of them was super stars and scrubs with like Rahm and Scheffler, and the other one was just super balanced. And I'd be comfortable starting with Xander at 92. I mean, the back thing to me is just like whatever at this point. The long distance approaches are there for him. He eats up par fives, which I think is going to be important. I like him this week. I like him as a DFS play at 9,200. I actually prefer him over Zalatoris down, who's a little bit more expensive. I just don't consider Zalatoris as good a putter either. So, I'd rather take Xander. So I'd be willing to start that low. I really would. And, Cantlay is another interesting cat. I don't think he's ever played Bay Hill, but he obviously looked good in his last start. But to me, like, I really love Hovland this week. Trending well in approaches, which is exactly what you want coming into an event like this. And I mentioned like where some of these guys get going. Hovland has always tended to get going in this state. Concession, he was runner-up to Morikawa that one season. They had the WGC. Valspar, got a second place. Top 10 at Sawgrass. Second place here last year. I think Vic is in a great spot this week. I know the around the green game is still a work in progress, and maybe it will be all his career, but he's just so good at the ball striking component. And in a tough environment, this is where it's probably going to shine through the most.
It's a little counterintuitive with Hovland at times because we've seen it even like US Opens. It's like the guy where around the green can really expose you. He somehow is able to thrive in some of those situations. Yep. And I do think the Florida swing at times really highlights some of his skill sets. So I'm fine with Hovland. I have no problem with them. If I had to play one player from the lower nines, it would be Xander for me. Him and Cantlay, I think, are in pretty damn good spots. But just to give you guys a peek behind the glass, and this is no surprise, everybody 9K and up is projecting for double-digit ownership. Yeah. The lowest owned guy is looking to be Justin Thomas, which, again, gives me some interest. And Rory, as well as Cantlay, look to be 20% plus potentially. And I think that's all pretty much in line. Obviously, I really trust our ownership. And I think that makes sense when you think about it logically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not shocked to see those 9K percentages. I mean, a lot of people are going to be, again, building around those guys. I think the one thing that'll tell you too, just about those ownership percentages is there's going to be a lot of lineups that do stack the 9K range. And I think that probably, and when we get to the lineup builder, we'll touch on this more, but I think that leaves you open for, you want a unique lineup build, maybe take two guys in the 10 or maybe, some kind of just like really, really kind of polarizing build where you're just, you're just bypassing a couple ranges. And I think that's where you hit it. So there's gonna be a lot of balanced builds this week. And I mean, for good reason. I mean, these guys are in the 9K range, are all elite. So.
Oh yeah, definitely balanced build. I see the appeal. There's just a lot of ways to do it. And I think that's what you have to be cognizant of. Before we move to the mid-range in 1 second, friend of the show, Mr. Jones, Matthew Jones, how is Hovland's win game? It's not great. If it's really bad, that's not good for him. There's clearly he wants calmer conditions. I think that's clear.
Yeah. I mean, my only thing I'd say is like, he does seem to handle the conditions better in Florida, but his wins have come in like pure beauty fest. So I don't know.
It's
like you said, he's kind of a hard guy to figure out in some ways. Like, he's had great results at US Opens. He's an elite ball striker, but he does tend to have his best results at like the OHL Classic with like no wind, soft course. So I don't know.
Let's move to the mid-range. Sungjae Im, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, all of these type of guys in here. This is where, again, we start to get some lower-owned guys, Spieth, and I'll talk about ways to access this type of data in just a second. But Jordan Spieth is sub 5% potentially. I don't love this range. Do you like the upper eights?
I like Cameron Young. I do. I don't have any reason to necessarily go against him here. I think that the off the tee game and the ball striking is just going to be such a nice floor for his potential here. I mean, his around the green game and putter hasn't worked, but again, we're switching coasts. He was really good at this event last year. I don't have his exact stats up, but I'm pretty sure he was positive on the greens or around the greens at the very least, which is nice to see. And he certainly struck it well at Riviera. I think Cameron Young is a player who, you know, he played well at the Open Championship. It's not a bad thing. It's certainly in open, windy conditions there. So second time playing, 13th year on debut. I really like him at 8,700. I think that's a fair price. I would rather roster him than Sungjae, who's looking a little perhaps fatigued, although you can never really tell with him because he just plays every freaking week. So, but I like Young in this range. I really do. I think Spieth is an interesting pivot. I'm actually probably going to be avoiding Jason Day.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he lost strokes on approach last time out. I know he's won here before, and he's certainly won in Florida a couple times. I don't really know. It's one of those things for DFS. You kind of got to pick and choose. I did sprinkle a little bit on him in the betting market, so that's going to make it a little bit easier, but it's kind of a small play, and I don't know. I just don't know if this is going to be the week, but Day is also trending. He was trending really high up in our projections for the ownership projections early in the week, and he's come down a little bit. So that's why I'm a little bit on the fence. Early in the week, I thought he was going to be an easy fade because I thought he'd just be like a top 3 ownership guy. Now he's come down a little bit. He's still going to be the chalky in this range, but maybe not as chalky as I think. I like Young. I think that the lower eights, a little bit harder to figure, kind of like you. I'm not in love with this range for the most part, though.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest. I think Cam Young, to me, comps to Hovland in a lot of ways, where I would really prefer calm conditions for him. If it gets crazy bad, I don't think he's super live to handle it. He's lost around the green in 4 straight. No doubting his off the tee game. Guy's unbelievable. He's like Hovland in a lot of this. One more guy I want to ask you, and then it's going to get real wild. This is a guy that, and you've been on this with me, to little success, and now he's cooled off a lot. Where is Tom Kim at? Is he just, let's just keep ignoring? Or is there any part of you that says no one's talking about him anymore? Do we start to look to maybe buy low almost?
It's an interesting spot how kind of quickly this has gone, isn't it? I mean, they're literally, Twitter was just like PGA Twitter was like just Tom Kim.
Yes.
Like the first 2 events of the year, that's it. That's all we heard. It was like, that's all the discussion was. Then he missed the cut at the Sony. He's good at the American Express again. And now he's had like 2 cold events and then he hasn't played. And it's almost like we've just forgotten that Tom Kim is like on the tour in a little bit. I'm not going to change my stance yet. I still think that this is like the adjustment period that we were kind of worried about before. And you're right. Like we did kind of bring this up. And I don't know if this is necessarily the spot. Playing Bay Hill for the first time in an elite field in windy conditions. This range isn't super appealing, but I would rather take a shot with Matsuyama. I know some guys in the chat threw out that he missed the Pro-Am this week, which at this point with Hideki, I don't even know. Like he's perpetually injured. He's basically like Louis at this point. He's become the new Usti, where he's a withdraw candidate every week, but guess what? He's also a candidate to finish top 10 every week. So he's kind of like the new Ustazen for me in that regard. I do like him here. He's good in the wind. He's got solid wind stats, and this injury stuff is just going to keep his ownership lower. So No, I'm not going to jump on Tom Kim here. I think that maybe when we get to like the next easier kind of field that he's in, I definitely will have interest, but not for me here. I'd rather play Spieth as a low on play. 100%.
Agree. Tom Kim is follow me on Twitter at JazzRazDFS. There's at Jeff at the Fantasy Grind. You would see my one good tweet a week. My fade is Tom Kim this week. I do not like him once again. I just don't see it. Now, Hideki. I really like Hideki. Am I nervous? Yeah, I am nervous. There's no doubt about it. But what I'm going to try to articulate, maybe poorly, a lot of the time, if you take all the scenarios that can happen, a lot of Hideki's in-round withdraws are in situations where he was going to or would have been cut. You see what I'm saying? Like, if Hideki's playing like shit and he's 8 over, he is very live, I think, to withdraw. But if he didn't withdraw, how much is that really going to help? If he starts out and he fires 65, I have a pretty good authority that he's not going to withdraw because of that unless he seriously gets hurt. Yeah. So it's like, so I'm not that concerned about it. It's more risk, but all the good Hideki performances, I don't think make him more likely to withdraw because of this.
And that's why I said he's like the new Louis, because Louis just had a perpetual back problem where, if he played like shit the first round, he's like, I'm out of here, man. I'm just going to rest my back for the next event. And then I'm going to top 10 and I'm going to be like 2% owned in DFS. So I think that it's a little scary. There's certainly a little bit of risk, but like you said, if he shoots 5 over to begin anyways, your week is done. So it's really not that different. I mean, than just rostering another player of this range who just starts out poorly. So I like I said, I'm fine with it. I got him at 60-1 in the betting market. I kind of wish I hadn't made that bet because I feel like he's just a better DFS play, and he's like with the stuff that's going on and I don't know. Well, whatever. Anyways, that's a longer discussion. But I like him for DFS here. I do. 8,200 I think is a really good price too.
Yep. So I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to bury the lead. Former winner. I've been playing him all year. And when I say all year, he's only played a couple times here, but it's been fine. 6 that Waste Management got really paid off there. 40 that Genesis. I am talking about Ty Hatton, who again, he's already won here.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster. Clearly, his Bay Hill track record is giving him the course history bump, and I don't love that. But at the same time, I think the Ty Hatton is primed to continuously put out good performances here. I like him quite a bit.
It's one of those situations where, like, I can find a reason not to play a really chalky Rory McIlroy just because I think Scotty Scheffler is just an easy pivot. But like Hatton, I agree. I mean, he's a really good setup here. I don't love Tom Kim as like a pivot off him. I think Hideki is fine, but he also carries risk. I don't know how much Hideki you necessarily want in like a 100 lineup build or something like that. Yeah, I think that you just kind of go with the field with Hatton here. I don't necessarily disagree. It's a really good setup for him. He's played well. And Hatton is one of those guys, like, if he likes the course, he's probably going to play well there. Like he's a picky dude, and everyone gets on him when he's like, this course sucks or this hole sucks. But like you as a bettor, you should be recognizing that and be like, okay, well, if he doesn't like it there and he's having temper tantrums at like Riviera, well, he's never done that at Bay Hill. So clearly, like there's some affinity there. I mean, he's only 8,300, definitely just feels a little bit underpriced. I completely fine if you were like, I'm going to jam in, 40% or something like that. I think it's fun. And our projections love them too. Like there's nothing that we're going against here. This isn't just Ben and I riffing on that. No. The projections are on them. I mean, it's looking good. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Day's looking good too, by the way. Like I know I kind of didn't give much love to Jason Day, but both Day and Hatton in this range are going to be chalky. They're both projecting well on Stokastic. So.
And speaking of that, before we get to the last couple guys, no better time to remind you guys, always, the link in the description of this video, 50% off any Stokastic premium subscription. You get the platinum. Go ahead. All of it. You can come in for the week and get these tools because the players is next week. You don't want to be messing with that. It gets serious. So if you're ever looking and say, you know what, I want a little extra boost, I don't want to spend a ton of money, just go to the link in the description of this video and sign on up. It's right there. Check it out.
And good guys, I mean, look, it's a good time to get in on like a monthly deal or something. The Masters is coming up, as Ben just said. Like we got some big events.
Baseball's coming.
I mean,
all sorts of shit's happening.
The Florida swing is this is it. This is like the best swing of the year. This is prime stuff. So
I'm going to Florida. I'm so excited. I'm just taking a plane right there. I'll be boots on the ground when I say that. Not boots on the ground, but I will be in Florida.
Give us an update. Take a picture.
I'll give you an update. It's gonna be hot
or something.
Not looking forward to it. I'd rather be in Fort McHenry or wherever the hell you were talking about before the show. All right, a couple guys left in the 8K range. Sam Burns, Bermuda Burns. Guy gets crazy hot on these greens, hasn't done much. And then Keith Mitchell, who is a volatile topic. People love him this week. What are we doing there to round out the range?
So, yeah, I'll take a little stance on Keith Mitchell here this week. I mean, if Keith Mitchell is going to be highly owned, let's say a top 10 owned player in a big field GPP, I'm out. I mean, I'm out. There's too much underneath Killer Keith to need to take that on. I like him. I really like the player. I bet him at Pebble Beach. He didn't quite get there, but he was a really good play. But that's Pebble Beach. That was a field where the leader was like a Jordan Spieth that wasn't playing that well. This is an elevated event. You've got Connors, Kirk, who just won, Theegala under him. You don't need to eat the chop with Killer Keith Mitchell this week. You don't. I don't think you do, personally. He gained a lot of strokes putting, too, at Riviera. A little weird. So, I don't know. Good player, like I said. If he was 7,300, yeah, we could talk. But no, I'm out.
Well, that makes it easier for me because you have been on Killer Keith in some really good spots, and I've kind of been perpetually underweight on him. That's not changing here. It's just not going to happen for me. He's got the talent. He's got the skills. There's 10 guys at 1/3 the ownership below him that I would rather have for various reasons. So it's not something for me. Do I have a little exposure? Sure. Am I going to get over 18 to 20%? Not a chance in hell. Best fade. Look at our man, Jorge. One of the great guys, members of this channel. Best fades for tomorrow. So we talked about a couple of them. I think, for me, Tom Kim comes to mind. Honestly, Keith Mitchell comes to mind. If you're talking just showdown, though, I think that for me, the waves are somewhat balanced. I'm not I would target the guys pretty heavily in the morning, though, and maybe fade some of those dudes in the PM like Mitchell. Honestly, Max Homa, if you want to get crazy, I think he's a decent fade. I don't love him this week compared to the opportunity cost.
Yeah, I mean, kind of there with Ben, obviously. Like coming into obviously a different environment, I think is big. We mentioned Homa, we mentioned Rom potentially as being guys, you can build off of and or just not like build around, obviously. Just Matthew Fitzpatrick is probably a guy I'm okay. He's fading. I know Ben's cringing hearing that, but he hasn't gained strokes much lately. I know he likes his course. He's looked a little off. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to wait till I see it from Matthew Fitzpatrick again, till he really starts gaining a little bit in other areas. So I think that's actually a really solid fade. Just going down the list. So we mentioned Mitchell. Yeah. Theegala, actually someone mentioned in the chat, like I've been big on Theegala, but again, he is a West Coast guy. And I think it's a really good point. I would put him in that category with like Homa as well. I think there's other players underneath him I'd rather play. So I'm kind of fading Theegala this week as well. We'll go through a couple others, definitely. Jorge there as we go on. So
yeah, I'd say this, as we work down into this mid-range more and more, the difference to me, Theegala is projecting for like 6 to 8% owned. And so it's not a crazy stand. You can take a share or two and basically cancel him. I don't have crazy exposure to him, but I think like Keith Mitchell and some of those guys, they really jump off the page. But as we work down, Connors and Lowry and Billy Ho and Rickie is playing really good golf. Or you said that you fooled a little on Jason Day. Are you ready to return to certainly one of your favorite golfers in Rickie Fowler?
Yeah, no, man. We're firing up Rickie this week.
I like Rickie too.
I put him in the intro article I wrote. He's in the first round leaders. I wrote. Everything I see here is good stuff. I mean, he's not just hitting approach as well, but it's like it's long irons he's hitting well. The proximity's looking good. What did he do bad at Riviera? He just putted poorly. Like, who cares? I mean, those greens get a lot of people, and that's just not a track where I'd even peg Rickie Fowler to finish. I mean, if Rickie had missed cut there, I really wouldn't have have cared.
No.
But he didn't. He hit the ball really well around a tough course where I don't think it really sets up well for his game at all. So good vibes coming from Rickie Fowler's camp right now. And look, there, outside of a major championship, if you ask Rickie Fowler what event he'd probably like to win before he retires, if this isn't the top of his list, it's probably top 2. A lot of respect for Arnold Palmer. He'd love to get this win. He would absolutely love it. I really like him this week, man. I really hope it happens. I really do. It'd be so good to watch him even just get in contention down the stretch. So yeah, I'm fully back in on Rickie. Like we're piling in here. I know I've been tentative in the past, but this is it for me. There's no holding back this week.
No, I'm with you. I've seen this story before and it ends horribly every time, but he's got me again. The putter looked good. The irons look good. We've talked about a couple guys maybe dodging this course. Maybe it's scheduling. Rickie puts this one in Sharpie every year. I mean, the guy's played here for a decade plus. He loves, not saying he loves this course in terms of setup. I don't know that, but clearly he's played it more than a handful of times. And it's a place he's very comfortable at, but he's in a crowded range. Kirk won last week.
Yep.
Adam Scott is Adam Scott. Justin Rose won not that long ago. Keegan is here. Fleetwood I like a lot as well. What do you make of some of the guys right next to him in each direction?
Yeah, I mean, if Chris Kirk hadn't just won, I mean, I feel like he'd be super popular this week. I mean, he likes this course too. He's played it a lot. And I mean, his irons are kind of thumping just like Rickie's was. That's part of the reason why I like Rickie, because he's giving me a lot of Chris Kirk vibes from the West Coast. But I mean, I would just go right back to Chris Kirk. I mean, like I said, classy game sets up. I mean, he's not deficient in any area here that's going to scare you. Maybe a little bit off the tee, but he'll be conservative off the tee and he'll make up the strokes for you around the green. So Kirk feels very safe here. I do have some interest in Connors, going back to him. I like the Supreme Ball Strikers this week. He's played well here. I just think this course is a little bit easier around the greens for guys like Hovland and Connors, and I think they can get around it a little bit easier. So I don't mind that play. Adam Scott, I still am kind of bullish on. I just don't know where he's at. Like, I think Adam Scott's a wild card that I wouldn't mind taking a chance with. I'd probably prefer him slightly over Fleetwood, but I definitely see the appeal in Fleetwood as well. So I really like Kirk and Fowler in this range. I like Connors as well. I'm just going to stay away from Horschel. I think kind of proven right last week that he's still not there with the swing changes. I never play Justin Rose, so who cares? Keegan, I feel like he's fallen off a little bit. I think your decision, if you're going to go lower, like under Rickie, and you want to play Fleetwood and Scott are interesting. It's kind of like a coin flip for me there. Fleetwood certainly has the recent form, but Scott to me, probably just a little bit better upside.
Yeah, it is crowded. I definitely have pieces of a lot of these guys. I like Fleetwood more than you for sure. He's in my preferred wave, PM, AM. He's got good track record at API. I actually think he's been playing better than his results have indicated lately. I watched for rooting interest a lot of some of his rounds in recent weeks, and I didn't think he played that bad in Phoenix. And at Genesis, it was fine. So I'm okay there. Kirk, I've said this a lot. Maybe I overrate this. When a guy wins, I kind of put them in different buckets. If they're an elite player, it doesn't really deter me. If they're a veteran player and they've won before, it doesn't deter me. When it's a breakthrough win, life-changing, a guy, I tend to say, okay, I'm not going to play him. I don't think Kirk falls into that. This is a guy, yes, he's had a big resurgence, but he's been there and done that. I don't think he's just like, oh, I'm going to fall off into obscurity after a life-changing win.
And
so
I'll just throw this one thing out about Kirk too. Regardless of what happens this week, I almost would prefer he missed the cut this week because I think he's super interesting for the players. It fits that course extremely well. He went off in the final group there. Actually, went off in the final group the year Rickie won. So
what's that ketchup? That's a good comment. Yeah, what the hell are you drinking?
Oh no, it's just a water bottle now.
Okay, it did look like a ketchup bottle. I was just saying, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the show. All right, we're going down.
In my house. I mean, my house is perpetually weird.
Hey, I'm here for it. Gary Woodland, Luke List, Harmon, a string of Euros, Detry, Norin, the Polish draft guy. Bez is here, who I think is sneaky. bottom of the sevens, what names are you looking to target as we kind of start to round out our lineups?
All right. So I think Woodland's fine. I think, again, like at some point, you've kind of got to just trust what you're seeing. I don't like him, I think, as much as maybe some other people do. But if you want to just use him as like a guy you can kind of just, rely on because of that long iron, just proximity, I think it's fine. I think he'll get through the cut here. The tough conditions, I think, just like I was talking about with like a guy like Hovland, I think it'll favor him. But I do have some players I'm pretty interested in here. I'm done with Noren, but I'm not done with Aaron Wise. I think this is a week where we got to see a bounce back from this guy. I mean, I like the way he finished the Honda. He's putting well. The irons won't be cold forever here. I think it's a good week to get on him. He's trending with like 5-6% ownership. We've got some players in this range. I mean, I think Woodland's going to be popular, and we've got some other players in this range. Like a Hoagie or something who are going to be popular. But Aaron Wise still a classy player. Maybe hasn't been hitting it as well as a guy like Kirk, but he can still do everything that kind of Kirk can do. He's a good putter. I think it's a good week to get back on him. And I mean, I'm kind of giving away my hot, but I really think Benny Ann's going to do something this week. I really, really like what I saw last week. I like what I've seen all year. He's gained strokes on approach all season. Over 3 strokes on approach last week. The only reason he was negative off the tee is he had like one penalized ball in the final round. He's actually driving it well outside of that. He has made the cut at Bay Hill each of the last 6 years, and he's lost strokes putting every single year he's made the cut. This guy ever gains strokes at this event, he's going to top 10. And I think it's going to be this year. I like Benny on this week, man.
Me too. Absolutely. He was quietly in contention last week, and it didn't turn out that way, and he's not going to be popular. One of my favorite last kind of balance build options, flat 7, totally there. A question about Harris English. That's a no for me. Don't like him to begin with. Not really doing anything. And I have true 1%ers in the same range with Bez and Benny on, so I don't have any room for him.
Yeah.
Last guy before we we'll build a lineup, and we'll talk about salary savers in just a second. Are you going to back Noren blindly because he withdrew from the Honda? I don't even know what that was for.
I mean, I don't. That's a good point. I mean,
he wasn't playing good to begin with, but
I think Noren is the perfect guy where, and I think it was you who maybe, I don't, this is a really good, there's going to be some good opportunities for live betting this week, guys. And I think Noren is the perfect guy to keep an eye on. If he starts well, if he looks good and the scores are low and he's hanging around, he's the perfect guy to get on. Because if he starts sinking putts down the stretch, he's not afraid of a hard tournament. I know he's kind of turned into the Birdie Fest guy, but he has won some events at like 5 under on the Euro Tour at some tough places. So I'm just going to pretend he doesn't exist for DFS because I don't know what's going on, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye on him as the week goes on. I think that's the perfect type of player you're going to want to keep an eye on as the tournament progresses if you're looking to reinvest.
Yeah, maybe showdown, prize picks, things like that. Because I just don't know how you back him blindly. And maybe it's a blind stab in a large field tournament, but you don't know what's going on, or at least I don't.
I would rather back Bez because I had very similar players in a lot of ways, but we know Bez is like playing, and he played last week, and so
it's. I'm interested to see as we go to salary savers here. How low are you willing to go, and who stands out? To me, Justin Sue and Pendrith and a couple other guys, Grio, of course. But what else do you see in the 6K range?
So Sue, I don't have a problem going back to either. That guy's going to be good. I had like a sick feeling in my stomach that I was going to miss the Justin Sue win for the first 3 days.
No, I had him, so I knew you.
Okay, well, I should have texted you then. Yeah. Sorry, you could have just calmed me down. But yeah, I do not have a problem going back to him. The iron play has looked really good. The putter is what it is. He'll figure it out. He's actually not like a terrible putter either. He just tends to be streaky with that club. I got no problem going back to Danny Willett this week. That is another player you want to keep an eye on this week, folks. If not, invest in. Talk about greasy short games. I would say he's probably top 5 in the world in short game right now. He's not hitting it poorly either. He really feels like a guy who wants to get back on some kind of world stage. And if this thing turns into a win fest, a grind fest, you can get some big odds on Danny Willett, guys, if you're looking to throw a couple darts. So really like going back to him this week. Both him and Benny Ann played last week. Good spots. I don't mind my guy Davis Riley this week.
Yep, he's in my pool.
Yep, I think he should be. Good long iron player. Where did we see him pop last year? It was Florida.
Yeah, he's in Alabama. Went to college in Bama from Mississippi. Like
right across the way.
Right across the way.
So I'm told.
So a guy that has, I think, truly everyone has given up on is Cam Davis. Cam Davis, his stock is 0.
Cam Davis has been canceled.
Is he permanently canceled though?
No one's permanently canceled in my look. I bet Kevin Chappell at Puerto Rico this week, so no one's permanently canceled in my books.
That is true. Are you going to play Cam Davis here? I don't think I can do it. I looked and I just
It's for DFS, I actually get it. If he makes the cut, Ben, makes the Eagles on the weekend. I mean,
and it's an invitational. This is not as difficult of cut. Man.
It's not the worst idea in the world. It really isn't. He's not 77. He's not 87. We're not like playing him over like Rickie or someone like that, or someone good. He's a scorer though, man. And if he gets a little bit hot on those par fives for a round, he's going to put up a lot of points. So yeah, I think it's a good guy to bring up, whoever brought him up. Sorry, I wasn't watching, but I really don't hate it in this range. I would probably rather play Davis Riley just because I trust that he'll make the cut a little bit more and he won't be abjectly terrible. But if you're going to go with those extreme lineups, I mean, I think you got to at least consider a little Cam Davis for sure.
So yeah, I think when you get down here, you need to start looking to like what you think you need. And what I mean by that, like Ryan Palmer was just brought up. You want irons? Guy who can't really putt at times? Sure. If you want crazy short game, Mackenzie Hughes is down here. Chad just brought up guys like Hostler. He's a little more expensive, but I think that's that same concept. Moronk, I honestly have no feel on. He's not in my pool, but I tend to be late on the Euros. Do you have anyone like what are you doing with Trey Mullinax or Charlie Hoffman or those guys? Are they passes for you?
So I got a few. I got one guy I'm definitely interested in this week. It'll be
Ludwig Adberg. Who the hell is that?
I don't know actually.
I assume he's Swedish.
He's definitely Swedish. I know they still give these invites, but that's an interesting one. I did not know that he was in the field, or do I know who he is? So
I was gonna say,
I cannot comment on that.
In the field? Like, okay,
Ludwig. I can comment on Ludwig van Beethoven, but
Grayson Sig is down here. There's a couple names down here.
Sig is a no-go. I saw him at Phoenix and he just looked
disheveled.
He looked disheveled. That's a perfect way to do it. He just did not look.
Believe me, as someone who's disheveled, I know that look.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I don't mind Mullinax. He's made the cut here a few times. He played well at TPC Southwind last year. It's a little bit all over the place right now, but again, he's kind of got that Cam Davis where he gets you a cut. He's probably going to put up some birdies. The guy I'm actually like very interested in, he's 6,200. I'll give you one guess, Ben.
So Ludwig is the number 1 amateur in the world. So there you go. We'll see him in future years. Like Curtis Luck was that, and my man.
Yes.
Okay, 6,200.
Yeah.
We'll go with Party Martin Laird.
No, it's gonna be Lingmerth.
Oh my God, thank God we didn't keep going because it was not gonna be him. Another Swede. Talk to me.
Lingmerth has played here 6 times. He's made the cut 6 times. He gained 6 strokes on approach at the Honda.
He did.
And this is a player in Lingmerth who he's a pretty confident guy. He can definitely get hot with the putter. So I feel like he can save you a couple different ways this week. He's basically like a cut maker. Like he's not like Cam Davis, not gonna get you like a bunch of points. But if this event turns tough and he gets you the cut, I think he could grind out a top 20. So I actually really like him for builds that I was throwing out earlier, where you're starting maybe Rom Scheffler or something to that regard. I think he's got a lot of value this week in an event where the winner might be like 5 under par, because I think Lingworth can grind to like a 3 over, 2 over score here. I really like him this week. I do. I think he's a good top 40 bet too. I'm going to be taking a piece of that.
Interesting. I do agree that guys like that, you know, if the winner's 28 under, just forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know that's not going to happen at Bay Hill. So I like it. Kieran, good day from Australia. What's going on? I just watched Crocodile Dundee 2, and they were in Australia, and it looked wild. I would love to go there. Can't fly over the ocean for 16 hours, but if they build a road, my friend, coming by. Now,
underwater train, Ben's there.
Yeah, underwater train. That's right in my wheelhouse. Let's build a lineup. What do you say? What do you say, Jordan? Build a lineup? Still eating those Buffalo Wild Wings? What the hell's going on over there?
No, he nodded.
Nah, he's good. He's good. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's we've been building some good lineups. We've been getting tweets every week like, man, the lineup from the show is in contention. And then I look at my lineups, I got 2 of 6. All right, friend, let's do it.
All right. Am I starting off here? Let's go Hovland.
Yeah. Start with Hovland. All right. So immediately we know that we're down to 5 of 6. So I got to make this good. Now Hovland will be fine. I'm just gonna go. You know what? We both said that Rickie Fowler is back. We got to put Rickie in the lineup.
Yeah,
so we've got Hovland. We'll go with Rickie.
That's a given. You're right. God, I mean, like, what do you? If this is gonna play like we think, I mean, like how? If you're doing a single entry, do you think that Lingmerth is a play like you would consider?
So the thing about someone like that, I think you have to play him for 2 reasons. One is that you objectively think he could play well. We check that box. The second is, what are you getting that you can't get? That's what I think is important. Because if I can get Benny on as my last man, I don't want to play Lingmerth. Now, if I can get this crazy combo with Lingmerth, sign me up. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense.
I think we should table him to the final 2, and if we need it, we could go to him.
That's a good point. That's kind of what I was looking for. We need to wait. Okay.
So we've got Hovland. We got
Rickie Fowler. 6K guys. I can't stop thinking about them. Okay. I'm gonna go to. We got Fowler.
Yep.
Yeah. See, this is where it gets tricky in the 9K range, because where do we want to go? I'm going to throw in Scotty Scheffler. Okay. No, wait. Oh, I'm gonna go Cam Young. Sorry.
Cam Young. Okay. I like this particularly because I've been pretty adamant that I'm not overly high on Cam Young, but when I play him, I want to attach to off the tee centric player. And Hovland is like that. I think the win could eat them both up, but if it doesn't, why not have them both together? I'm going to keep it somewhat indifferent still. I'm going to choose my favorite player. I'm going to go with Ty Hatton.
Okay. Yeah.
I know he's really popular, but I think Hatton is really primed to do things. I like Fleetwood a ton too, but Hatton and Fleetwood to me are so key this week.
And, I mean, look, we've got 2 guys in Fowler and Hatton who are kind of good all around. They're good long iron plays. Oh, it's Jordan. Lost our guys. And then we've got Hovland and Young who are both like really strong off the tee. So I mean, I think we're hitting on a bunch of players right now, which make a lot of sense. I'm just going to let Jordan get it back up and then see the average that we got left. There's Cam Young. So what do we got left? We got 81. Is that right?
Yeah, 81.50.
81.50.
So
okay.
I'll save you the suspense. If we could have got Scheffler and Lingmerth, I would do it, but we can't.
Yeah. I agree. I think that would have actually been a strong way to do it. So now we're left, kind of a weird range.
It is weird.
Let's do this. I'm going to go down. I'm going to take, since we're not using Lingmerth, we're going to go to the 7K range and let's go Betty Ann.
Yep. And this is perfect because this is what I wanted to do. You've got Xander right there at 92. Yeah. You could go with Cantlay at 91. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, I like it.
And
I actually really like this.
And Hunan, Xander. This is a great team.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is an absolutely fantastic team. Hovland, Rickie Fowler, Cam Young, Ty Hatton, Benny On, and Xander Schauffele. Every time we choose Hunan, Jordan.
BY. Starts BY, Jordan.
Or just HUN, Attila the Hun. Say it every week. Can't find him. He's sneaky. That's the thing. No one can find him. That's why he's low owned, my man.
Yeah.
Just a great Twitter follower as well. Shout out Benny On. and Xander Schauffele to round it out. Love that lineup. Yeah, that's not a knife. This is a knife. Look at that. A little Crocodile Dundee. I'm starting to chat up. We're feeling good. I'll famous last words here. Every time, I don't like to fly. Every time I fly, I always have good. I've had more DraftKings sweats on airplanes than it's absurd. Every time I fly, I get into the mix. So knock on wood, we'll have that opportunity here with this lineup.
There you go, folks. Going to be a good week for Ben. He's flying.
Let's hope. Final thoughts before we bounce on out of here. You got a hot take for us? I mean, you gave some hot takes. You talked about Lingmerth and some of these dudes. Anything else that you want to get in?
So, okay. Let's do this. I think it's going to be a wild week. I think we've got a very good chance. I know everyone's kind of like, oh, it's elevated. You got to stick with the mid-range guys, but man, we're going to have some serious weather in play. I think there's a good week. We're going to see a long shot winner, and I'm not going to call who it is off, but I'm going to say one of Danny Willett or Byung-Hun An is going to finish top 5 this week. That's going to be my hot take.
That is very, very hot.
Coming in from the Honda, they got the forum. They've been playing in the Florida wind. Benny An was off for 2 weeks, and Willett missed the cut at Riviera. These guys aren't like fatigued, or these guys are ready to go, man. I think they could catch some of the field off guard. So I like both those guys.
I have no problem with that. I'm gonna go different direction. I'm gonna say that Tommy Fleetwood.
Ooh.
Tommy Fleetwood is gonna have the lead. This is a weird hot take. It's not really actionable, but Tommy Fleetwood is going to have the lead at an end of a round.
Okay.
I don't know what
that's actionable. You can bet end round leader.
Yeah, there you go. Because I do think for first round leader, it's a little tough. He tees off very late tomorrow, and that is not ideal. Tommy Fleetwood at the end, and hopefully it's at the end of Sunday. Tommy Fleetwood is going to be in this tournament at some point. I really believe he's primed for a big showing.
I thought you were going to be like Tommy Fleetwood is at like 6 under par on like the second hole of like Saturday or something. Like,
no, those hot takes get too complicated where it's like, I think Fleetwood's going to win, but my winner is going to be a Spaniard. It's like, hold on. Like the logical fallacy hot takes we've put behind us on this show. There we have it, friends. It has been a great time. We appreciate each and every one of you. Final thoughts. Again, all those deals are in the links in the description of these videos, from PrizePicks to BetMGM to everything we've got. Go check it out, sign up and save yourself some money, get some advice. Hopefully we'll see you inside the ropes for the players. For me, Jeff and Jordan, thanks again as always. I'm off to Florida. I will be back. Don't you worry. I'll be back talking all things player championship.
Well, and you be back if you win a bunch of GPPs on a plane? You may just fly everywhere, man. I mean,
doubtful. I'm more worried about the plane crashing. Let's just get there. We'll be good. I'll be refreshed. March Madness is here. I cannot wait. But everybody enjoy API. This is no slouch tournament. This is a real top end tournament. I can't wait to see it. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy those lineups, and we will talk to you soon.